Oh, hello there, yes, well, phew, what a scorcher, as they traditionally say. Yes. Anyway, leaving aside all of the usual shenanigans there are in the Middle East, nothing like a war on about 15 fronts for Netanyahu. Great to see that the only democracy in the Middle East, except of course it isn't, is doing such enormously sensible things to protect its one singular leader who, when he leaves office, will face a whole variety of nasty criminal charges. Yes, democracy is wonderful, isn't it, on that basis? Only works if there are checks and balances. Still, we can get rid of the checks and balances because they're inconvenient. And we can see that happening in the UK, what with our political parties who don't really want to be bothered with lots of things. And perhaps to a certain extent, especially in terms of reform, I give you Exhibit A, which is Deputy Leader of Durham County Council, or whatever it is, I don't really care, Darren Grimes, who, for the second time since taking office, if he indeed has taken office, I have no idea if he has or not, is refusing to do DEI training. Now, when this initially came up, he was jumping up and down about he was going to take a principled stand not to do DEI training, and it was unfortunately pointed out that he didn't have to do DEI training, but now magically he does have to do DEI training. I was told today I face suspension for refusing to take DEI and net zero training which we as a council are opting to scrap. I was elected to serve my residents, not racist and alarmist ideology. I repeat, I will not be taking DEI or net zero training. And there's Dame Andrea Jenkins chipping in on the top of it, because also obviously she's not going to do such foolish things, because after all, otherwise she'd become brainwashed like I am, and then she'd be Hamas. Anyway, leaving that aside, I'm not entirely convinced that Darren does have to do DEI, or certainly not net zero training, so it will be intriguing to see this one. I have the feeling that this has all the hallmarks of culture war porky pies on his part. However, let's assume that he does, for example, the DEI training, have to do it, because most places do. And I'd be surprised if, for example, that when he joined GB News, he didn't have to undergo something similar as well, because it tends to be a workplace requirement. So, if he's not going to do that, is he going to wait until they don't make it a workplace requirement? In which case, are they breaking the Equalities Act? I don't really know. And if he is going to take a principled stand, then surely the opposition parties can insist that he doesn't actually have the qualifications to do his job, and ergo will need to force a by-election. Again, it will be intriguing to see. Either way, Darren and the Reform Party wins, because it means, as a la the rest of the Reform Party, they end up not having to do anything whilst making an awful lot of noise about absolutely nothing at all, because they don't quite understand it. But these people are inherently litigious, aren't they? You might think of people like, well, I don't know, probably Rupert Lowe, who, even though he just doesn't care who calls him a racist, will take you to court if you call him a racist. But whilst I was digging around this thing today, what I did notice was that there's odd stuff going on. The Doge unit, allegedly, that is doing all this stuff is being picked up by a company called Trafalgar Analytics, which is run by Charlotte Gill. Now, the odd thing about that is I can find no information whatsoever about Trafalgar Analytics. It doesn't appear to exist itself as an organisation at all, outside of a, report into Kent County Council with loads and loads of really interesting graphs, but doesn't really say anything at all other than we don't really understand why it is that we bundle kids into taxis to take them to schools. You pays your money, you takes your choice on that. I'm personally thinking that, from my own experience of people like PricewaterhouseCoopers way back in the past, that it's going to be a group of people who are very good at producing very interesting diagrams in reports, but don't actually understand the way that actual work works. Yes. But Charlotte Gill, like Darren Grimes, left under a bit of cloud, and she actually ended up taking GB News to court over what really are quite a piffling amount of money. So she obviously does believe in, certain legal things that might need to be done. But I think this will be a pattern the way going forward, because if Darren can refuse to do all this training, why can't the people that work for the council refuse to do similar things anyway? I mean, I as a teacher am required to do a number of different things each year, not the least of which is safeguarding training. I'm not going to jump up and down and suggest that that's a bad idea, or that I refuse to do it because otherwise the wokest blobby types will get me, a la bogies under the bed. Yeah, damn it, Jesus, how thin-skinned and unable to deal with things. That free speech again, do you have to be to go, oh, I'm not doing that, I might change my mind? We will see. I would be amused as to how exactly this one pans out, because I have the feeling that as a hill to die on, it might not be an ideal geographic location. Anyway, do have a glorious hot weekend. Do keep an eye on the news. Hopefully we'll soon see British jets in the sky defending Israel against the evil barbarian hordes who are warmongers. Yes, we can't have a nuclear-armed Iran, but we can have other nuclear-armed powers, can't we? Do have a glorious one if you can do. Enjoy the sunshine. Maybe take a walk.